Sure. Okay. We are here to interview you about what it was like for you to lose your parent as a child, and we are going to connect some of your responses to the book we're reading right now called Paper Things.
Okay.
Okay, so one of our questions would be, in your own words, how would you describe homelessness?
Homelessness?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, basically, somewhere that basically you have nowhere to go.
Another one would be, what would you do if you had a homeless student if you knew a homeless student in one of our schools? In our book Paper Things, Ari, one of the main characters, is a student who goes to Eastland Elementary, and her brother are homeless.
Oh, wow. If somehow I got involved with that person, I probably would first kind of get to know them, and then maybe see what needs I can provide immediately. I would not necessarily take them just to a home real quick. I kind of want to see what they need first.
What do you know, of any, out of our school district, do you know, how would you handle, what, if, in our school district, what would you try to help our school district to help if there were, many homeless people in our school? So, would you try to, help them, or would you just, be like, it's not my problem? Or?
No, I would try to help them. I would definitely get our church involved in on that, and usually with a church, you'll find somebody that probably has something already established, and usually you'll probably start out with making sure that their nutritional needs are met. They're getting good food, and then just kind of build upon that. But definitely start with the church, get them in on it, and then try to see what we can do for the group.
When Gage and Ari lost their father, Gage would take care of Ari. What was your family like after you lost your parent?
Well, my mom took care of everything basically, so she was always around to keep things kind of put together. I probably would have formulated the loss later on. It didn't really kind of sink in right away, so everything was pretty stable at the time.
So in our book, the girl Ari, she also lost her mom, and she's trying to get in this school called Carter. It's like a school for really gifted students, because her whole family went to it. But since they left their sister Jana, her and her brother, which is he's really young, so he doesn't have a good paying job, so they don't have anywhere to live in a permanent household. She struggles to get homework, do her homework and stuff, because she can't do research without an address, which is hard for her. So she's struggling trying to get into Carter. What would you do if your family was struggling? What would you try and do and help?
So she didn't have the resources available. Plus she was probably taking care of her brother a lot.
Yeah.
We had that conversation if there was no internet.
Yeah.
Really, I would say she'd probably have to use the library or something. If she's got no home, at least give her some security. So, but obviously she'd have to find the time. That's like a parent. You try to find the time to set aside.
After your dad died, did you feel worthless or helpless or anything? Or were you just kind of feeling kind of the same?
I would say helpless or worthless, but there was something missing.
Mhm.
There was definitely something missing in that relationship. I do recall when I was young making statements in that regards that I did miss him.
Um. Let's see. Kayla, do you have any? I'm just gonna read this one. We haven't. Okay, I don't know if we did this one yet, but Ari felt very lonely after her mother's death. What were your thoughts after your parents died?
Well, as far as my dad died, yeah, you know, there's a, like I mentioned before, there's a missing element in there. So, you know, being so young, since I was only 3, you only have 3 years of actually having a bond. So, I would say maybe another 3 years, you're just kind of losing that bond. So, you know, you go from a high peak of having a father, and then go to the point where you realize it is what it is. I've adjusted. So you said she was feeling lonely.
Yeah.
Well, if both her parents had gone, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's definitely a little different in the sense of both her parents being gone and being lonely. She had no one to really count on, or you know, even for whatever for what the father's part of it. Yeah, I probably wasn't able to have the stuff that I counted on him for those few years. So maybe there was, you know, some loneliness there. Am I gonna have to slow up a little bit?
No, you're good.
You're doing good typing.
Let's see. In the book, the girl Ari, she hates video games because there's so much violence.
Mm-hmm.
Do you, like, this is kind of a weird question, but like she relates the violence to like her mom's death, and she doesn't like violent games that her brother plays.
Mm-hmm.
Did you feel like there was anything that you necessarily didn't like that reminded you of that?
You know, I don't know if it's I didn't like, or as opposed to watching things that maybe filled the gap. Again, that was a connection she had that kind of stuck with her, where I probably would say I watched things that maybe filled the gap of a father figure. So movies that, you know, were either strong, men were the main characters.
Did you feel like after your dad's death there was a lot of like argument in your family, or was everything kind of mutual?
No, there's a lot of argument. You know, I can't say everybody goes through that, but I think your character kind of changes a little bit because you don't have basically a male and female aspect to the world. So here you're trying to become a man yourself, and it's missing. So yeah, I would say there's a lot of argument going on because you're kind of confused as well, you know, where you should be at.
Mm-hmm. In our class text, the main character lost the comforts of home and had to adjust to a life in poverty. After your dad died, did your family have to like move due to any financial issues and things?
I wouldn't say we were in poverty. You know, we kind of consider poverty as a lifestyle, but we were poor. So we were already stable in what we can do, but we had to make ends meet. So we didn't have to move, but we had to adjust to a lot of things with only a single parent.
Ari had been like struggling in school after her mom and dad died in the book. Did you ever struggle educationally after your parent died?
No. You know, I couldn't explain that, but I really enjoyed school. I think that was kind of an outlet. I didn't struggle in school. It wasn't. Maybe I could have excelled differently. You know, in the sense is if there was if I had my father there, where somebody can tell me, hey, you know, let's try this or do this. So maybe I didn't get myself involved in things that maybe were challenging.
Already engaged, didn't really have any time or family members that could help them cope with what had happened to them or help them without living in financial issues. Did you have any family members that helped you with what had happened?
Oh yeah, I had a lot of brothers and uncles that probably filled some of that gap. They helped me out quite a bit. I would say sisters too. Yeah, she probably struggled if she didn't have any family, to go to. That could be discouraging.
Mm-hmm. Jacob, do you know anything now? One thing that really helped her was she had like a lot of friends. Do you feel like you had a lot of friends that like supported you and that you could like kind of lean on?
Yeah, we have that conversation at home, about the kids. It's a little different. I guess maybe not having a parent, you kind of grow up relying on friendships. Good or bad, I have to say, but you do rely on friendships.
So like in the book, after their parents died, I feel like Gage got more protective of Ari. Did like anyone in your family like get overprotective or like try to keep you protected from the outside world? Or?
Yeah, I would say my mom did. I think at some point, I would have to say being the last child in that group, I was very young. Everybody else had already grown up and moved on. So everybody, since I was the youngest, and my mom was at a stage now where, she was comfortable, with us too, just being in the family unit. Yeah, you get a lot of family members that kind of feel like, you're the youngest, I'll protect you.
Okay. Let's see. Did you ever like have any friends that you feel like struggled with any issues like that, or knew anyone?
Well, yeah, in high school, if, kind of thinking back, in high school I had a really good friend. But actually I don't think he lost his father. I think it was a different scenario. But obviously he didn't have his dad home all the time. I don't think in order to relate to that, as far as a death in the family, I didn't have anything like that besides myself that I knew of.
Did you feel like none of your friends really understood like exactly how you were feeling?
When you're young like that, I can't speak that would be everybody's impression of it, but I don't think you really talked about that.
Mm-hmm.
If, it's like in your relationships, you kind of talk like, oh man, my mom did this, my mom did that, or something like that, but you really don't, you don't relate to the feeling aspect of it. You just kind of go through the motions.
Did you ever like wish that you might have been older when your dad died so you could have like knew more about it and like helped your family members out?
No, I think I was more selfish. Honestly, I think as I grew up, I became more selfish in the sense is that, I don't know if it was the fact of maybe taking on, the only male figure in the family, with it being just my mom and I, that I figured I kind of knew it all, and but I wasn't taking on the responsibility aspect of it, no.
Yeah.
Sounds like an interesting book.
Yeah, it really is. See, I didn't know if I was gonna like it at first, but it's gotten like really intense.
How far are you into the book?
120